Derby County are one of a number of clubs in the Football League chasing after Bristol Rovers midfielder Kamil Conteh. But is it a deal which Derby County should do? Now, Kamil Conteh is 22 years old, standing at 1.83 metres tall. He's a Sierra Leone international with 9 caps to his name and is a central midfielder. Now, he's contracted at Bristol Rovers until the end of 2027 and is currently valued at €500,000. Now, over the course of the 24-25 season, he's made around 21 appearances, collecting 6 yellow cards, playing 1,856 minutes, mainly in those central midfield roles. But the problem that we have is that he has been injured since around the end of December and hasn't played since then, with a knee injury and bone inflammation. Now, obviously, when we look at this player, we've got to look at Derby County's current situation in the midfield with just Kenzo Holdmine, Ibu Adams and potentially Ben Osborne. Obviously waiting for confirmation on Liam Thompson, who has been offered a contract extension as per the retained list. But is Kamil Conteh the type of player that we need? Now, you will have seen on the channel over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've put out a few videos discussing other links, and obviously Oscar Frullo has been one of them. There's been a couple of other midfielders in that list as well, and I just don't think that Kamil Conteh is the type of player that Derby County need. Now, we've had our problems with injuries over the course of the last season or two, and I just don't think that we need another player that's struggling with injury. Now, over the course of his entire career, this does include the FA Youth Cup and Premier League 2. He's made 122 appearances, scoring 4 times, collecting 2 assists, with 28 yellows and 1 red card, playing 9,410 minutes. Now, if we do just take a quick look at his positional chart, he's played in defensive midfield, he's played in that right wing-back position, as well as the left wing-back position, as well as in those other central midfield areas as like a number 8 or a number 10. And he's played for a range of clubs across the course of the English divisions, with his obviously most recent one being Bristol Rovers. He's also played at Gateshead, Grimsby, Braintree, Middlesbrough and Watford, and obviously played in a range of different competitions, including the National League South, National League and League 1 and 2, as well as obviously the FA Cup and EFL Cup. Now, he's obviously been capped by the Sierra Leone, as I mentioned earlier on, where he's made 9 appearances for them. But for me, is this a move which makes sense for Derby County? And I have to say no. Now, if we look at the report from Football League World, who claim they've been exclusively informed, Derby County and Plymouth are sort of chasing after him and are going to battle each other for this signing. Now, I personally don't necessarily agree. I think that when it comes to Football League World, a lot of the articles that they put out seem to be opinion based rather than this is what we know, this is what we've heard from agents. And whether they are getting exclusives or not, I'm not entirely sure. The author of this is James Barker, who's a journalist, expertise in Middlesbrough and the Championship. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have contacts. He absolutely might have contacts, but I think this deal just doesn't make much sense. I think when you look at it from a Derby County standpoint, you've got Ibu Adams, you've got Kenzo Holdmine, you've got Ben Osborne at the moment, you've got Liam Thompson, who's been offered a new deal. Will Derby County want to go and pick up a player like this, who has never played in the Championship, hasn't played for the last 6 months essentially? I just don't see a world where that deal is correct and happens, in my personal opinion. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm always intrigued to hear what you have to say about this, but it's just one of those that doesn't really make sense. Now, obviously, you look at Derby County and you look at their retained list that was released a couple of days ago, and you've got Harry Hawkins in the academy, Cruz Allen, Niall McAndrew, Darren Robinson, who can all play those midfield roles. Freddie Turley's another one. Like, you've got players who can play that midfield position that are at a younger age that Derby County deem good enough to stay around the club. And I just think that sometimes you have to I just don't think that giving Conteh a Derby County deal makes much sense for Derby. Don't get me wrong, he might be a terrific player, I'm not going to say I know a great deal about him. I can't say I've watched Bristol Rovers too much, especially this season with being in the Championship. But it's one of those where I think absolutely he could have ability and absolutely he could be the next big thing, and he could go on to be a brilliant Championship player, like someone like Ibu Adams, who didn't get his break in the Championship until this season. It's just one of those deals that I don't think makes sense for us in the position we're in. We're not in a position where we can really take a chance. In my personal opinion, I think Derby County need to go and pick up players who we know what they're going to offer and know what they're going to give to this club, because that's sort of the problem that we had last season, was we didn't have enough sort of in that sort of box of this is what Derby County have got, this is what they've done in the Championship, and this is what they're going to do. And I think that's what Derby County need this season. And there's obviously a couple of other links that are going about at the minute. Obviously, if we look at some of the conversations I've had on this channel across the course of the last few days even, you've obviously got that conversation around Jack Kingdom from Manchester United. You've got obviously the Oscar Frullo conversation, obviously Ethan Ahern, obviously Paudi O'Connor. Like, there's a lot of conversations going on. Thierry Small, and in my opinion, there's a lot to discuss, especially within that midfield area. Obviously, Harrison Armstrong's another one, Michael Craig another one, and I just think that there's a lot that Derby County can do without bringing in Kamil Conteh. Now, I'm not saying that Conteh isn't good enough to play in the Championship. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that Derby County need to be going for a little bit bigger and better. And I think if you look at some of the players we've been linked with over the course of the 24-25 season, like if I just jump onto some of the more recent videos that are in that sort of playlist on my channel, you look at someone like Regan Slater, you go back and you look at Livram Burku, you look at Abu Bakr, and there's obviously Martin Kars, a striker as well. There's a lot of discussions that can be had regarding sort of the areas we're looking at, and I do think there's a lot of discussion to be had in that regard when it comes to midfielders. I just don't think that Kamil Conteh is the right one. Now, if he comes in, does he get my back in? Absolutely. As I've said from the start, I've always said it, I'll always stick to it. I'll back everybody in a Derby County shirt until ultimately they prove that they're not worthy of being in a Derby County shirt, and that's something which can obviously be discussed by you and I over the course of the next season. That's something which we are going to be doing. But obviously, that is going to be that for Kamil Conteh. There's not really a great deal more that I can say on this topic. I don't necessarily think it's the right move. I think there's probably better players out there who are more in sort of the profile of what Derby County need. But you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content. Hit the notification bell, hit the like button, push this video to new audiences, and I'll catch you in the next one.